Srimad Bhagavatam 5:19-23. Kalpayusham sthanajayat punarbhavat Kshanayusham bharata bhujayovaram Kshanena martyena kritam manasvinaha Sanyasya samyantyabhayam padam hare. Kalpa ayusham, of those who have a life, of those who have a life duration of many millions of years, like Lord Brahma, sthana jayat, than achievement of the place or planetary systems, punah bhavat, which is liable to birth, death and old age. Kshana ayusham, of persons who have only 100 years of life. Bharata bhujayah, a birth in the land of Bharatavarsha. Varam, more valuable. Kshanena, for such a short life. Martyena, of the body. Kritam, the work executed. Manasvinaha, those actually understanding the value of life. Sanyasya, surrendering unto the lotus feet of Krishna. Samyanti, they achieve. Abhayam, where there is no anxiety. Padam, the abode. Hare, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Madhava ki jai. Translation: a short life in the land of Bharatavarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years. Because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharatavarsha in a lower planetary system is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection even in this short life by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus, one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. Please repeat. A short life in the land of Bharatavarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years, because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharatavarsha in a lower planetary system is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection even in this short life by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. Purport. This is further confirmation of the statement given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bharata bhumite hoilo manushya janma jar, janma sarthaka kari karo paropakar. One who has taken birth in the land of Bharatavarsha has a full opportunity to study the direct instructions given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and thus finally decide what to do in this human form of life. One should certainly give up all other propositions and surrender to Krishna. Krishna will then immediately take charge and relieve one of the results of past sinful life. Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. Bhagavad Gita 1866. Therefore, one should take to Krishna consciousness as Krishna himself recommends. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Bhagavad Gita 1865. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer me obeisances. This is very easy even for a child. Why not take this path? One should try to follow the instructions of Krishna exactly and thus become fully eligible to be promoted to the kingdom of God. Tattvavit dāsa punarjanmanaiti mameti sorjuna. Bhagavad Gita 4:9. One should go directly to Krishna and engage in his service. This is the best opportunity offered to the inhabitants of Bharatavarsha. One who is fit to return home back to Godhead is no longer liable to the results of karma, good or bad. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmelitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the opportunity in the Bharatavarsha in present day India. Actually, this Bharatavarsha mentioned here is the entire, it's actually more than this earth that we know. In the Vishnu Puran, the demarcations of Bharatavarsha, the limits of Bharatavarsha are mentioned as the land that is covered or bordered by the ocean in the south and the Himalayan mountains in the north is Bharatavarsha. That sounds like present day India, but the distance from that ocean to that mountains is mentioned as 72,000 miles, 9,000 yojanas. That does not match up because the entire circumference of the earth as we know it from modern science is, I think, 24,000 kilometers, is it? Around. So it's 3 times that, which means there is something else going on. So that's a whole another subject, the Puranic geography or the cosmography versus our modern vision. There's a distortion of our perception. But anyway, this Bharatavarsha extends way beyond this planet Earth, but today, in our context, the culture of Krishna consciousness is still prevalent in Bharatavarsha as in today's India. Like Bharatavarsha was even Pakistan and Afghanistan for a century or more ago, and included even Burma, Bhutan, Nepal, Tibet, Burma is Myanmar. So, and before that, even other parts of the world, even Thailand, Indonesia, these were also part of Bharatavarsha. You can still find traces. Even in the European countries, the Eastern Europe, you can find a lot of traces, but much of it was whitewashed after the Christians came, and therefore they do not know anything before the Christianity. But this culture is now especially so in present day India, but that also is dwindling. But it can be revived, and it has the greatest chance of revival in India because we just have to do a little bit of cleanup, and the rest of the structure is already there. The Varnashram structure is already there. Like in the village, we have, there are Shudras, there are Vaishyas. Of course, it is changing now. Mostly people are going to the cities, and agriculture, cow protection, these are dwindling. In fact, if anything, India is one of the biggest exporters of beef today, which is very bad. So it is, people are forgetting. And whatever uh, is remaining is just the shell, the outer shell. The core of it is being eaten up, rotten. Like yesterday, we were distributing books there. When we asked people, do you know the story behind Deepavali? They do not know. They know nothing about nothing. So, Krishna killed Narakasura, Ramachandra came back to Ayodhya, and he was received with all the Arati paraphernalia, and that's where the Deepavali comes from. Avali means, huh? Yes, numerous group, series, Avali. So, Tundavali Labdhe, you know that was? You know? Tunde Tandavani Ratim. So, Rupa Goswami said about the holy name, this is completely unrelated, but just the Avali. Tunde Tandavani Ratim Vitanute, Tundavali Labdhaye, Karna Krodakadam Vini Ghatayate, Karnarbudebhya Spriham, Cheta Prangana Sangini Vijayate, Sarvendriyanam Kritim, No Jane Janita Ki Adbhiramritai, Krishneti Varnadvai. To achieve many mouths, Tundavali, Avali Labdhai. So, I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. So anyway, so that's Deepavali. So people do not know. And also, for our context, just like Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra was banished from Ayodhya, and the inhabitants of Ayodhya were in miserable condition in separation from him. And when he came back, they welcomed him, in joyous celebration. So similarly, we have banished Krishna from our hearts, and therefore we have been banished from the Vaikuntha, and now we are in this material world. We have to welcome the Lord with the Deepavali, the lamplight of my love, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings. What is that song? Mama Mana Mandire? Huh? Huh? No, that line. Prema Pradipe, Arati Tumar. Prema Pradipe, Arati Tumar. So that is the feeling with which the inhabitants of Ayodhya welcomed the Lord back in Ayodhya after the exile. So when we exile the Lord from our heart, then we will be exiled in this material world. And our life will be miserable in separation from the Lord. Not exactly out of Vipralamba, but out of when we are separated from the Lord, we are bound to be miserable. And then when we welcome the Lord with the lamplight of our love, then the Lord will gladly sit in our heart, and then we will be admitted back into the kingdom of God. Vaikuntha. So that is actual Deepavali, but people do not know. And that lamp of love will come from, first of all, understanding. On the dollar bill of the United States dollar bill, in God we trust. It is written there. Prabhupada said, how can you trust God when you don't know God? In order to trust someone, we need to know that person. But if I don't even know God, how can I trust him? So first of all, knowing God is the first item, and the knowledge that reveals to us Krishna is the lamp. And that is Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Jnanena tu tad ajnanam yesham nashitamatmanah tesham adityavajnanam prakashayati tatparam. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So this lamp of love starts with the lamp of knowledge first. Sambandha, abhidheya, prayojana. Sambandha Gyan has to be there. It's all the same actually. Prema Pradipa means it includes Sambandha, abhidheya and prayojana. When you say prayojana, Sambandha and abhidheya are already included. But the stages in which we go through to the Prema Pumartho Mahan, Krishna Prema, is from Sambandha first. And therefore, transcendental knowledge as revealed by Krishna. Prakashayati. This prakasha means revealed. We cannot see the sun by a torchlight. The sun has to reveal itself, and then we will see the sun. So that prakasha. So Krishna is self-revealing, self-effulgent. So we cannot. So there is this verse, Nayamatma. नायमात्मा प्रवचनेन लभ्यो आत्म प्रवचनेन नायम आत्म प्रवचनेन लभ्यो न मेधसा न बहुना श्रुतेन यमेवैष वृणुते तेन लभ्यस तस्यैष आत्मा विवृणुते तनुं स्वाम. So the Supreme Lord is not obtained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, or even by much learning. Here it is said much learning, but you can also translate this as bahuna shrutena, by studying many scriptures. That's not the way to. Vedeshu durlabham. He is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. Some people say, oh, how? Oh, that means, you see, I don't need to hear, I don't need to listen to classes, I don't need to read books. If Krishna chooses me, then he will reveal to me. So Krishna chooses when? Is it random? So in order for him to choose us, we need to choose him first. So we have to hear. We have to. Bhakti is the only way where he can be subdued. So in the न साधयति मां योगो न सांख्यं धर्म उद्धवा न स्वाध्यायस्तपस्त्यागो यथा bhaktirmamorjita. My dear Uddhava, the unalloyed devotional service rendered to me by my devotees brings me under their control. I cannot be thus controlled by those engaged in mystic yoga, Sankhya philosophy, pious work, Vedic study, austerity, or renunciation. What is the other verse? 11, 12, 1 and 2. Right? That is in relation to devotees, but also it is very important. Shri Bhagavan Narodhayati mam yogo na sankhyam dharma evacha na swadhyayastapastyago neshta purtam na dakshina. See, very similar um, sounding words. व्रतानि यज्ञश्छन्दांसि तीर्थानि नियमायमाः यथा वरुन्धे सत्संगः सर्वसंगापहो हि माम्. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Uddhava, by associating with my pure devotees, one can destroy one's attachment for all objects of material sense gratification. Such purifying association brings me under the control of my devotee. One may perform the Ashtanga Yoga system, engage in philosophical analysis of the elements of material nature, practice non-violence and other ordinary principles of piety, chant the Vedas, perform penances, take to the renounced order of life, execute sacrificial performances, and dig wells, plant trees, and perform other public welfare activities, give in charity, carry out severe vows, worship the demigods, chant confidential mantras, visit holy places, or accept major and minor disciplinary injunctions. But even by performing such activities, one does not bring me under his control. So, only by service to Krishna through his pure devotee is the only way by which Krishna. With whom will you reveal your secrets? Yeah, someone whom you really trust, whom you really take into confidence. So, Krishna, why should he take us into his confidence if you're not interested in him, if you're not his friend? Bhakto se me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etad uttamam. This rahasya is only for the bhakta and sakha. For others is not. So when it is said that he who himself chooses, we should understand that it's not random. It's not that he will pick a lottery and then okay you. He does not do that. It's incumbent upon our devotion. Then he will reveal. When he is subdued, then he will reveal. That is true in any relationship, right? So, so Krishna prakashayati. So, like the sun, he reveals himself, and when he reveals himself, when we say God realization, the self realization is already included. We cannot really have self realization without God realization. We cannot understand ourselves without understanding God. But in order to understand God, since we are the sample of God, so sometimes God is understood through our experience of ourselves. For example, that analogy where the finger cannot be nourished if it is disjointed from the body, therefore finger must cooperate with the body. It is actually, we are trying to understand our relationship with Krishna by giving the analogy of our body's relationship with the finger or finger's relationship with the body. So this we can understand. The relationship between us and God we cannot understand. So show us something we can understand and then extrapolate that to the thing that we cannot understand immediately. So this is called Shakha Chandranyaya. So pointing to something which we can conceive and then pointing to the actual thing which we don't immediately see. So in this way, it is said, 15:19. Yo mam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarvabhavena bharata. Sarvavit. Sarvavit means, with means one who knows. Sarva means the knower of everything. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. And then what he does when he knows everything? Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritah bhajantyananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. Having known, once he knows, this is what he does. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So, because they know me, this is Sambandha, and the effect of Sambandha is then Abhidheya and finally Prayojana. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me. Fully engaging in devotional service is Abhidheya. And actually, they are in love of Krishna. Our intensity of service increases as our affection for Krishna increases. And finally, it culminates in love of Godhead, which means that we are eternally engaged in Krishna's service. Not that service is a means to love and there ends the service. No. There is the beginning of perfect service. Until then, it was not perfect. It was, I think we should go through that. How it intensifies. I think NOI 8 purport, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very nicely explains this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. Okay, because the point here in this verse is this word. Kalam nayed akhilam iti upadeshasaram. This upadeshasaram, the essence of all advice is to use all our time. Kalam nayed akhilam iti upadeshasaram. So use all our time in Krishna's service. Kalam, time, nayed, should utilize akhilam, full, iti upadeshasaram. So now, regarding that, how we can be 24 hours, and the translation, anudinam means two things, every day and all the time. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented that because for neophytes 24 hours a day is not possible, in order to encourage, anudinam is every day. But if you really want to get into the full definition of anudinam, 24 hours a day. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja, Goloka Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So, in this context, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, see what he says. He has commented as follows. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, qualities, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service. Continuing on, In the neophyte stage, this is the important. This is how we intensify our imperfect service. Gradually becomes perfect more and more. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasha. In astrology, there is Dasha, like there is Rahu Dasha, there is Shani Dasha, there is Guru Dasha. So, Dasha is a period of time. So, this is called Shravana Dasha. In the neophyte stage, we should always hear Krishna Katha. So, this is Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varana Dasha, the stage of acceptance. So, in the hearing stage, we still may not be accepting because we have so many doubts. Even Arjuna, as you see, he wasn't immediately accepting everything. When he finally said, Nashta Moha Smritir Labdha, Tat Prasadan Mayachyuta, Sthitosmi Gata Sandeha. Gata Sandeha. His Sandeha, his doubts were completely finished. Until then, his doubts were not finished. That's why he was asking many times questions. He was interjecting when Krishna was explaining. What is this? Can you clarify this? When he said, I spoke to the sun god, wait a minute, what are you talking about? You spoke to sun god, but I am your contemporary. When did you do that? That would have been millions of years ago. How does that match? So then Krishna explained, and that question revealed a thing about Krishna that would have otherwise remained hidden. That we both, Krishna said, we both have taken birth many times, but I remember all of them, but you don't. So it was in a previous birth when Arjuna also was there beside Krishna when he spoke to sun god. But Arjuna did not remember that. So that's another special feature that we forget our previous lives, but Krishna does not. So in this way, then Varana Dasha. So just like, okay, let's read this whole purport and then explain the other one. So when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. He becomes attached. So in the beginning, there may not be attachment. Huh? Like in the previous verse in the Nectar of Instruction, it is said that jaundice, when one has jaundice, the medicine is sugar candy, and that appears bitter in the beginning. So in the beginning, the hearing, sometimes we have to push people to read every day, and then they are actually scared when we ask like that. Next time they come, they're hiding. Oh, if I go to him, he will ask. So that is a stage where we don't have Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. We don't have the Ruchi. We don't have the taste for it. Because if you have, once you get the taste, you see, when we are in the Varana Dasha, when we accept, when one attains this stage, he becomes attached to hearing. You have to ask him to stop reading at that time. That is attached to Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smaranavastha. Avastha is also like Dasha, stage of remembering. Smaranavastha. So by chanting, when one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smaranavastha, the stage of remembering. But this is not actually perfection yet. Because, see, recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. You see, the Smaranavastha has 5 subdivisions: recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. Now, all this may sound synonymous. Like, what is the difference between absorption and meditation and constant remembrance and trance? But you see, he explains, at first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals. And in our present stage, the intervals are very long intervals. And then again, we remember Krishna. And then again, we forget, our mind goes elsewhere. And then after some time, we remember. The intervals are very long. So it has to become denser and denser, hard, without any single interference. So that's what it is, this 5 stages. So at first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. So now, this can be compared to rabdi. You know what is rabdi? Sweet? Yeah. When you cook milk down, In the beginning, the milk is very diluted, like very liquidy. And as you cook it down and cook it down, it becomes thickened and thickened and thickened. And then it becomes fully milk, but it becomes even thicker and even thicker and even thicker. And it becomes sweeter, concentrated. So this can be compared to that. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi or spiritual trance. That's why Prabhupada said, we don't want devotees of cheap quality. We want devotees. Prabhupada said at one point, stop making more devotees. Start training the devotees whom we have, because otherwise the milk is being diluted, adding more water. Only volume appears more, but it's no quality. So we need quality. He said, cook down the milk. He said, what? Boil down. Boil down. He mentioned that many times. Boil down. So after Smarana Dasha or Samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. This is the stage at which our original position is revealed. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called Sampatti Dasha, the perfection of life. Right? So just like, when we are in this material world, we are under different stages of influence of different planets, right? That is called Dasha. That's why it's Guru Dasha, Shani Dasha, Rahu Dasha, Ketu Dasha. What is this? All these are different Dasha. But when one is under Krishna, what is that? 7,437, right? न्यस्त क्रीडन कौबालो जड़वत्तन मनस्तया कृष्ण ग्रह गृहीतात्मा नवेद जगदीदृशम कृष्ण ग्रह गृहीतात्मा. What is that? This graha, navagrahas are there. Krishna graha, by Krishna, who is like a strong influence, like a graha or planetary influence, whose mind was fully attracted. So Prahlad Maharaj's situation is this, explained. So he was Krishna graha grihit atma. So when one is under the influence of Krishna or Goloka Vrindavan planet, then the Navagraha does not work on him. So he goes through these dashas of Smarana Dasha, Varna Dasha, Smaranavastha, and that under these 5 headings, and Samadhi. That's why Prabhupada said, our system of yoga is better than Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga, there are Ashtanga Yoga, right? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. 8 Ashtanga Yoga. But Prabhupada said, our Bhakti Yoga is far superior because it is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. And that is already Samadhi. That is expanded in this purport. We have seen just now, NOI 8, Nectar of Instruction 8, purport. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur expanded upon that. How Shravana and Kirtana and Smarana happens. So these are the dashas under which a devotee passes, and as long as he is doing that, Ayur Harate Vaipumsam Udyanastan Chayannasau Tasyarte Yakshanonita Uttama Shloka Vartaya. Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. So, Bharatavarsha offers this opportunity of becoming Krishna conscious very intensely. But it is not limited to Bharatavarsha. Krishne swadham upagate dharma jnanadibhih saha kalau nashtadrishamesha puranarko dhunoditah. Again, the sun. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana. So this, wherever we have the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and how did that happen? By Srila Prabhupada's mercy. He has come and he has given the same benediction that would have been possible in Bharatavarsha all over the world. So now there is no innate need that we should go to Bharatavarsha in order to have this perfection. In fact, Narottam Das Thakur says, Tirthayatra Parishram Kevala Maner Bhram. Tirthayatra Parishram Kevala Maner Bhram. It's only an illusion, mental illusion, this Tirthayatra, going to holy places. I'm not saying don't go, but only there I can be purified if I go to a holy place. Not true. Because what makes a holy place holy? What makes a holy place holy? 1:13:10 भवद्विधा भागवता तीर्थभूताः स्वयं विभो तीर्थी कुर्वन्ति तीर्थानि स्वान्तः स्थेन गदाभृता. My Lord, devotees like your good self are verily holy places personified. Because you carry the personality of Godhead within your heart, you turn all places into places of pilgrimage. How did the holy places become holy? Krishna was there, but more importantly, devotees were there. Devotees were there. And because they were thinking of Krishna, that place became holy. Today, if you go to America, the place where Prabhupada started the Kirtan, Tompkins Square Park, there's a tree there under which Prabhupada sat down, and that is a holy place now. There is a commemoration, and then devotees go there. So, like that, wherever Prabhupada went is a holy place. So, what makes a place holy is the devotees. In fact, externally we may see that a pure devotee and not pure devotee, not unalloyed devotees, all go to rivers like holy rivers like Ganga and Yamuna and take bath. But actually different things are happening at the same time. Prabhupada may go into the water and come out. We may go into the water and come out. Looks like, oh, same. Not same. You see, 996. So Ganga Devi, she did not want to come down. She did not want to come down. So why? Because she was worried that all the people will come and take snan, take bath, and then they will leave their deposit their sins in my water, and I will be full of these sins. Why should I come down? Then Bhagirath, he assured Ganga, don't worry, there is a plan. And this is what he said. Shri Bhagirath Uvacha Stadhavonyasinah Shanta Brahmishthalok Pavanah Harantyagam Tenga Sangat Teshvaste Aghabhid Harihi. Bhagirath said, those who are saintly because of devotional service and are therefore in the renounced order, free from material desires, and who are pure devotees, expert in following the regulative principles and mentioned in the Vedas, are always glorious and pure in behavior and are able to deliver all fallen souls. When such pure devotees bathe in your water, the sinful reactions accumulated from other people will certainly be counteracted. For such devotees always keep in the core of their hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can vanquish all sinful reactions. So when we go there, we are depositing our sins. When the pure devotee goes there, he is purifying Ganga. He is purifying Ganga. How different it is. So just like we have taken birth out of our, what is that? Karmana Daivanetrena. But when Krishna takes birth, that is not the same. What is that verse? 3:13:4? No. Is that one? Is it 3:13:4? Not 3:13:4. 11:9:12. So what am I doing? Right? Is this the one? Or no, 11,920 is it? I'm guessing big time. 11,212, I think. Yes. Shruto nupatito dhyata adrito vanumoditah sadyah punati saddharmo deva vishwadruhopihi. 11,212. Pure devotional service rendered to the Supreme Lord is spiritually so potent that simply by hearing about such transcendental service, by chanting its glories in response, by meditating on it, by respectfully and faithfully accepting it, or by praising the devotional service of others, even persons who hate the demigods and all other living beings can be immediately purified. So the devotional service, see, devotional service is so potent. Now, who will do devotional service? Devotees. And that is the glory of the devotees. That's why it is every morning we sing Vede Gai Jahar Charita. Every morning Guru Puja we sing Vede Gai Jahar Charita. What is the Charita of the devotee? Is this devotional service. Full of devotional service. It's so potent. Hearing about it, chanting its glories, meditating on it, but accepting it, praising. Even persons who hate the demigods and other living beings can be immediately purified. So powerful. That's why it is said 3:13:4. Srimad Bhagavatam. श्रुतस्य पुंसां सुचिरश्रमस्य नन्मञ्जसा सूरिभिरीडितोऽर्थः तत्तद्गुणानुश्रवणं मुकुन्द पादारविन्दं हृदयेषु येषाम्. Persons who hear from a spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouths of pure devotees about the character and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their hearts of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead who awards his devotees liberation. So we have to hear about pure devotees from pure devotees for a long time, not simply once I have read, like Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Charita and Dhruv Charita hundreds of times. What is that verse? 10, 33 and 34, is it? Antya? Khanda? What is this? Oh, this is Chaitanya Charitamrita only. It's not coming here. I don't know how to search for that. Never mind. Huh? 13, 14. How to even take that out? What is the word? Gada. Gadadhara. Huh? Paren. See, it's not even there. Chaitanya Bhagavat is not here. Huh? I think the new one, I think it's in the other Vani base, I think. Now they have Vani base, right? The new one has Vani base. Anyway, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard Prahlad and Dhruva Charita hundreds and hundreds of times. So we have to do that. You have to hear, not that we finish Bhagavatam once means so life achievement award. I will sit down now with that accolade. No. How much have we absorbed? How much are we meditating? All that. And the more we do it, the more we read, the more it is relishable. Usually, when you read another time the same thing, I already read it. But if we are doing devotional service and then reading again, we have to do devotional service. Then it becomes fresh, because when we are engaging in service, there will be more realizations of the same thing and deeper realizations of the same fact. So, Bharata Bhumi offers these advantages, but now it is open for everyone. Just like Jagannath Rath Yatra is in Puri, but because of Prabhupada's mercy, now the Rath Yatra is everywhere, all over the world. So this is the power of the pure devotee. He can create the same situation anywhere, even in hell. When Mrigari hunter was in the forest killing, Narad Muni went and then he made him pure devotee. And after that, he was sitting in the ashram and chanting, and then it is as good as a holy place. Otherwise, he was just an ordinary tribal. So, in this way, the touch of the pure devotee is the real purifying factor. In our lives also, when we contact the pure devotee, that's when the purification really happens. We can go to temples and take darshan all our lives, nothing will change. It's very, very slow. By going to the temples, the only good thing is what, hopefully you'll meet some proper devotee somewhere. And there will start the real deal. Otherwise, we're taking darshan, nothing is going to change. Purify after a long time. And long time is not, 20 years maybe. Devotee is 2 years. No. Lifetimes. Not this one. No, not this one. 108411, right? Yeah. Nahyam mayani tirthani nadevamritchila maya te punantyuru kalena darshanadeva sadhava. Mere bodies of water are not the real sacred places of pilgrimage, nor are mere images of earth and stone the true worshipable deities. These purify one only after a long time, but saintly sages purify one immediately upon being seen. You don't have to even hear him. You just see him, you're already getting purified. So powerful, the pure devotees. Much more powerful than even the sacred places of pilgrimage. So therefore, we have to accept the order of this pure devotee, and that's how we associate with the pure devotee. By associating with otherwise, I can be in the proximity of a pure devotee, physical proximity of a pure devotee, but that is not association. Prabhupada gave the example of the mosquito on the lap of the king. He is the closest in the entire court. All the ministers, mosquito is the closest. What is he doing? He's sitting on audacious. You see the audacity of the mosquito. He's sitting on the same throne on the lap of the king. Is sitting on the throne. For the mosquito, the king is the throne, and he's sitting on king. Hey, what, you are king? I am king. I'll sit on you. And but what he's doing there? He's simply biting and causing inconvenience, and he'll be crushed after that and die. So that is not association. Association is not proximity. Association means to take the bhava, to take the order, the mood, to understand the mood of the guru and actually accept that. Like Haridas Thakur said, here. You see, Antya 351. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, How will these yavanas be delivered? इहा सबार कौन मते होइब निस्तार, ताहार हेतु ना देखिए ए दुख अपार. Dukkha apar means, unlimited suffering, great unhappiness. You see, dukkha apar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, how will these yavanas be delivered? To my great unhappiness, I do not see any way. Yavanas, of course, he was referring to the Muslims at that time because they eat the cows and everything. But actually, anyone who is apart from Vedic culture, he is Yavana, Mlecha, Yavana. So, how will these people be delivered? I do not see any way. Greatly unhappy. Then, Haridas Thakur gave the assurance. Haridas kohe, Prabhu, चिंता ना करे हो, जवनेर संसार देखी दुख न भावे हो. He is assuring. And this is actual association. Haridas Thakur replied, my dear Lord, do not be in anxiety. Do not be unhappy to see the condition of the Javanas in material existence. So, purport is very nice. These words of Haridas Thakur are just befitting a devotee who has dedicated his life and soul to the service of the Lord. We go to God to relieve our anxiety. But an actual devotee goes to God to relieve his anxiety. When the Lord is unhappy because of the condition of the fallen souls, the devotee consoles him. The devotee is consoling the Lord, saying, my dear Lord, do not be in anxiety. Prabhu, chinta na kariyo. This is service. Everyone should adopt the cause of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to try to relieve him from the anxiety he feels. And what kind of anxiety he feels? Oh, a little bit anxiety. No. How much anxiety do we feel about our life? It's a lot, right? He feels the anxiety of not one of these lives. Every single life that exists in this material world, he feels the anxiety for all of them put together. How much anxiety is that? How much anxiety is that? I mean, look at our lives. Okay, we are human beings, relatively simple. Look at the chicken which is being slaughtered. Look at the goat. Look at the animals that are being killed in the forest by the predators. All of them, how much anxiety they are in? All that anxiety put together, Krishna is feeling. So much anxiety, unlimited anxiety he is feeling. This is service. Everyone should adopt the cause of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to try to relieve him from the anxiety he feels. This is actually service to the Lord. One who tries to relieve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's anxiety for the fallen souls is certainly a most dear and confidential devotee of the Lord. To blaspheme such a devotee who is trying his best to spread the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the greatest offense. One who does so is simply awaiting punishment for his envy. So, actually, Prabhupada is mentioning that last part because his godbrothers were offending him. So, they are not realizing what Prabhupada's position is. So, many times indirectly he pointed to that offense that they were doing. So, anyway, so this is the mood. So, association with the Guru means this, to feel the anxiety that the Guru is feeling for the conditioned souls. And taking up the cause of the Guru in great earnestness, with all risk, with all challenge, one has to take. And that is actual association of the Guru. Prabhupada said in his Ashtashtakam, it's an epic poem that he wrote in 1961, his Vyasapuja offering to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said, there are 4 kinds of disciples. Guru Bhogi, Guru Tyagi, Guru Drohi, and Guru Sevi. Guru Bhogi is the one who enjoys the property of the Guru, who is just sitting in the temple and enjoying life. Guru Bhogi. Guru Tyagi, who gives up the Guru, who takes initiation, disciple, but after that he gives up. The third one, Guru Drohi, he is a traitor of the Guru. He takes initiation. He not only disobeys, but he systematically puts in a system where everybody will disobey, which is what is happening in ISKCON today. Guru Drohi. And finally, Guru Sevi, the one who actually sincerely serves the Guru without any ulterior motive. He is Guru Sevi. So, we have to be Guru Sevi, not the others. If we are the others, we are not actually associating with the Guru, we are actually like the mosquito or even snake. Mosquito is minor. Snake, scorpion, this kind of things we are doing. So, we have to associate nicely and then our life will be successful. Otherwise, there will be disaster. There will be disaster. You see? First, this verse. यस्य साक्षात् भगवति ज्ञानदीपप्रदे गुरौ मर्त्यासद्धिः श्रुतं तस्य सर्वं कुञ्जरशौचवत्. The spiritual master should be considered to be directly the Supreme Lord because he gives transcendental knowledge for enlightenment. Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastra. When the spiritual master says something, it is Krishna saying that. No more doubting. Consequently, for one who maintains the material conception that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being, everything is frustrated. What does it mean by having this material conception that the spiritual master is an ordinary human being? That he is imperfect. What he says may not be perfect. To think like that, that means we are considering him an ordinary person. Martya Saddhi. Everything is frustrated. His enlightenment and his Vedic studies and knowledge are like the bathing of an elephant. And in the next verse, purport. Similarly, if the family members of the spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being, this does not mean that he becomes an ordinary human being. His family members may consider him an ordinary. It is not that he is ordinary. Because familiarity breeds contempt. What is that? Sannikarshottra martyanam anadarana karanam. The spiritual master is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore, one who is very serious about spiritual advancement must regard the spiritual master in this way. What is that? In what way? As good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we are serious about our spiritual advancement, we must regard the spiritual master in this way. Even a slight deviation from this understanding can create disaster in the disciples' Vedic studies and austerities. It's a disaster. So, I would like to stop it there. It's already very late. I hardly spoke about Bharatavarsha, but actually the core of Bharatavarsha is this. All great acharyas, many great acharyas came from there. And the acharya, the ultimate acharya of Kali Yuga, which is Prabhupada, he actually went across the borders and now spread it everywhere. So that fortune that is highlighted of Bharatavarsha in this verse is now available everywhere. Patra, what is that? Patra, vichar nahi sthana sthan, jai jaha paye kore premadam. Jai jaha paye taha kore premadam. Adi 723. Patra vichar nahi sthana sthan, jai jaha paye taha kore premadam. So, Patra. In distributing love of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchatattva distributed love of Godhead. And I think I'll show a couple of verses here. पश्चिमेर लोक सब मूढ़ अनाचार ताहा प्रचारिलो दोहे भक्ति सदाचार. The people in general on the western side of India were neither intelligent nor well behaved. But by the influence of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they were trained in devotional service and good behavior. So especially if you see Bollywood, where is it? Mumbai, West. All kachara comes from there. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, although it is not only in Western India that people were contaminated by association with Muslims, it is a fact that the farther west one goes in India, the more he will find the people to be fallen from the Vedic culture. So actually, West also is because of the from the Arabs, the Muslims came and contaminated the culture of Bharat by systematically desecrating the temples and burning all the books and everything, raping and everything, killing cows. Now, it is a it is a fact that the farther west one goes in India, the more he will find the people to be fallen from the Vedic culture. Until 5,000 years ago, when the entire planet was under the control of Maharaj Parikshit, the Vedic culture was current everywhere. Gradually, however, people were influenced by non-Vedic culture and they lost sight of how to behave in connection with devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami very kindly preached the Bhakti cult in Western India, and following in their footsteps, the propagators of the Chaitanya cult in the Western countries are spreading the Sankirtan movement and inculcating the principles of Vaishnava behavior, thus purifying and reforming many persons who were previously accustomed to the culture of Mlechas and Yavanas. All of our devotees in the Western countries give up their old habits of illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. Of course, 500 years ago, these practices were unknown in India, at least in Eastern India. But unfortunately, at present, all of India has been victimized by these non-Vedic principles, which are sometimes even supported by the government. That's why the word Paschatya Desha Tarine has extreme significance, because it's especially irreligious, notoriously irreligious. And this other verse in the Bhagavatam, this is the one, 425-52. This is another very interesting verse. Asuri nama paschadvas tayayati puranjanaha gramakam nama vishayam durmadena samanvitaha. On the western side of the gate, on the western side was a gate named Asuri. Through that gate, King Puranjan used to go to the city of Gramaka accompanied by his friend Durmada. It's an allegorical story, but you see, the purport is very important. The gate on the western side of the city was known as Asuri because it was especially meant for the Asuras. The word Asura refers to those who are interested in sense gratification, specifically in sex life, to which they are overly attracted. Thus, Puranjan, the living entity, enjoys himself to his greatest satisfaction by means of the genitals. Consequently, he used to go to the place known as Gramaka. Material sense gratification is also called Gramya, and the place where sex life is indulged in, to a great extent, is called Gramaka. When going to Gramaka, Puranjan used to be accompanied by his friend Durmada. The word Vishaya refers to the four bodily necessities of life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The word Durmadena may be analyzed in this way. Dur means dushta or sinful, and mada means madness. Every living entity who is in contact with material nature is called mada or mad. It is said, Pishachi paile jena mati channa hoy, mayagrasta jiver hoy, she bhava udoy. When a person is haunted, he becomes practically insane. When one is in an insane condition, he speaks all kinds of nonsense. Thus, to become engaged in sense gratification, one has to become a friend who is durmada or badly affected by the material disease. Now, this part of the purport is important. The words Asuri Nama Paschadvah are significant in another sense. The sunrise is first visible from the eastern side, the Bay of Bengal, and gradually it progresses toward the west. It is practically experienced that people in the west are more addicted to sense gratification. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has certified Paschimera Lokasabha Mudha Anachar. The more one goes to the western side, the more he will find people disinterested in spiritual life. He will find them behaving against the Vedic standards. Because of this, people living in the West are more addicted to sense gratification. In this Bhagavatam, it is confirmed Asuri Nama Paschadvaha. In other words, the population on the western side is interested in an Asuric civilization, that is, a materialistic way of life. Lord Chaitanya consequently wanted this Krishna consciousness movement to be preached on the western side of the world so that people addicted to sense gratification might be benefited by his teachings. So when that request was made by one of his disciples, Prabhupada was asked, I think now that we have gone all over the world and spread everywhere, I think we should change that mantra, Paschatya Desha Tarane, which is said Sarvaloka Tarane or something like, everything, all the world, whole world was delivered. Prabhupada said, no, keep it like that because my spiritual master's order was to preach in the Western countries. And if you see here, the West, Mudha Anachar. So he particularly delivered them, and that is a highlight of Prabhupada's achievement. So I'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Um, yeah. It is there. Where did I read it? It is there in the actual Bhaktira Samrita Sindhu. Yeah, Satatam. Smartavya Satatam Vishnu. Yeah. Sthane Sthita Shrutigatam and Satatam Smartavya Satatam Vishnu. So this Satatam, he said, is daily. But that is to encourage the neophyte. But for the pure devotees, it is as we have intensity increases. But the day and night he is thinking of Krishna. But for the neophyte, daily. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, that's why daily. Actually, Nityam means Nityam. I have to find the exact verse in which he commented that. I read that the other day. All right, so if there's nothing else, we'll stop here. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanand.